I'm your host, Sarah Baus, and welcome to Attainable Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to the Attainable Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Baus. I hope you're doing well. As you can see by the title, this is going to be a little bit of a different episode. I'm going to be spilling some tea, as you will. I did not think that I would be sharing this experience when the first event happened in January, and then it happened again this month. And just the way that I have handled, I'm gonna have to speak in like vague terms until I explain it. But the way I've handled it this time has been a lot different, and it's taught me a lot. And I've had to do a lot of growing from those things. And I am kind of an oversharer. I share everything with you guys. So to not share this kind of piece, I think would be sort of ingenuine, no matter how embarrassed it made me at the time. So I'm not going to make you wait. I'm going to dive right into it. Well, hold on. I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's doing good. I miss you guys. I'm recording literally the day before this goes out because I procrastinated, but it's kind of fun because I'm like, okay, I feel like a little bit more connected to like you guys and when you're going to be listening to the podcast because you're just going to be listening tomorrow. So usually record like pretty well in advance. So like, this is kind of fun. So we're going to pretend that I did it on purpose, but I hope you're doing well. I love you guys very much. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm not going to drone on anymore. Here is what happened. So if you do not know who I am or what I do, I'm a social media manager. I started a social media digital marketing business, officially niched down to social media back in November, but I've been doing freelance work, digital work from various like sectors of marketing, from social media marketing, building courses, building websites, like a bunch of things since March 2020. But I do run my own business, and running my own business is super fun. And it's also the hardest, but most rewarding thing I've ever done, but definitely the hardest. And so I really like to share when it's hard because I get really annoyed when, like the people on TikTok and on Instagram, they're like, quit your 9 to 5 and like this is what I get to do every day, and it's so easy and I charge this much per client, blah 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 blah, when it's just not the whole story at all. And although I totally love the encouragement, and like you guys know if you listen, like I'm like so for anti 9 to 5, or at least anti the current corporate culture that we've built as a country, not necessarily 9 to 5 jobs. I'm so happy to see companies challenging that work culture. But like I'm all gung-ho for that. I'm all gung-ho for encouraging people to start their own business and do their own thing, but being super honest about it and everything that happens. And we had everything, as it says in the title, shit hit the fan in January. And it knocked me down. Literally, and I mean like on my bathroom floor, hyperventilating, crying, knocked me down. And then I had another incident just a couple weeks ago. So let's start in January, shall we? So when I niched down back in November to doing only social media, what I mean by that is that as a freelancer, I was kind of doing anything for anybody. Like if you were willing to pay, I was willing to do it if I knew how to do it. And if you're willing to even better pay for me to learn how to do it, I do it for you at a pretty good price. And so, but with that, it was hard to market myself, and I wasn't doing everything that I love to do. But I took those first few years to figure out, okay, like what is it that I like to do? What is it that I enjoy doing? And I found that social media and digital marketing and content creation, that is where my heart lies. And there are so many ways to do that. And so I wanted to kind of say, okay, now we're claiming like, this is what we do. This is the only thing that we do. And because of that did mean losing clients. And that did mean saying no to projects. And so that transition, I knew would be a large business transition. And it kind of meant a little bit of a rebrand, and then a new, like opening myself up to a new market and then gaining new clients under that new service, if you will. So in November, I knew that I had a couple months of finances in the business saved to hold me over while I was gaining that new clientele. And like, it was going super well. I have a monthly meeting with my accountant. We go over like different things that are happening. We make sure the reports are correct, check in, kind of got to do that. And I went into this call in January and I was super excited. I just closed another deal and things were going really well with the business and the clients that I was getting. And I was super proud of what I was doing. And I left that call pretty distraught because my accountant is one of, she's such a good friend to me. But of course, her job's a little bit hard when she has to give me news that we're not doing good enough. And though I was gaining new clients, I was not gaining enough new clients and I was not making enough money. And she she had to tell me, hey, you had about 3 months to gain the income that you lost by changing to just social media management. And you've been doing really well, but it's not enough. And so we're not covering our costs. And we are not going to be able to sustain. And we have to cut your pay. And so that, personally looked like cutting my pay in half. And just being super honest, like I don't make very much. This business is still super new. And so it kind of just is what it is. I've kind of accepted that in these first few years of building and everything, you're not going to make as much. And like, that's totally fine. But when your accountant tells you you have to cut your pay in half and your pay is already very, very small, that leaves you in a pretty rough place. And she was so sweet. She was like, okay, like, do you need to talk? And I was like, no, I don't want to break in front of you. I was like, okay, like we have to get new clients, whatever. So I closed the call and it was it was like a pile of bricks hit me. And I was like, I'm going to panic. Like I'm going to have a breakdown right now. And I kind of thought, I was like, okay, like, I was diagnosed with anxiety. So I was like, do I take medication? What am I going to do to handle this moment right now? And I was like, no, you know what? I want to feel all of it. I want to feel all of these emotions. I'm going to let this hurt for a moment in time. And then I'm going to get back up and we're going to figure out a game plan. But before that, I need to break and completely shatter as a person. So I went upstairs and it was the kind of upset, kind of panic, the kind of, oh shit, like my life, my livelihood, my bills, like at this pay, like I can't pay all my bills. That kind of feeling, it was making me nauseous. Like I was like, oh I'm going to be sick. I'm going to be sick. I went upstairs to our master bathroom and I sat on the ground next to the toilet so that I could easily get sick had I needed to. And I gasping, crying. And Joseph was in his office on the phone for work. And I texted him, I said, when you're done, can you please come to me? I'm in the bathroom. So like he finishes, he comes in and he finds me bawling my eyes out, not being able to breathe on the bathroom floor, gagging, trying not to get sick. So I'm sure that was an image for the ages. But that, so clearly, how I handled that one was a little bit different. And once I had my like big moment, I was like, okay, now, that's the thing with owning your own business, like, or anything like freelancing, or when you're faced with things and it all relies on you, like it all relies on you. And as super fun as it is to be your own boss, there's so many times when I realized the privilege of what it is like to have somebody else responsible for your paycheck so that you can kind of put that worry in somebody else's hands and you don't have to feel this way. But with that, like, I couldn't stay on the floor. I couldn't. I had to figure out a game plan because I had to figure out what I was going to do. I didn't want to go back to work. I didn't want to, and it also, like, besides, oh my gosh, I can't pay my bills, like, we have to figure out something to do. It's also a question of, am I failing? Like, am I a failure? Is this going down? Did I not do enough? And all questions that I was asking myself and all questions that I had to face. And I kind of came to a different conclusion later. But anyway, I had to make a game plan. And long story short, like, things worked out. I'm assuming that you can figure that out. I had about 2 weeks of and I talk about TMI, guys, like I am an oversharer. Especially you guys who were like performed or something, or you like were athletes and you had a big game, or you had you did theater or something, or you did performances, or you had something where it was like something that made you okay. Do you know what the nervous shits are? Like, do you know what I'm talking about? I had about 2 weeks of that, 2 weeks of stomach sickness before things fell into place, and I got some more work from one of my current clients, and kind of if you want to know how I fixed it, like, really, I expanded a contract with a current client. She had a need. I expressed interest in filling that need, and then we expanded my role in her agency. So, and with that came some new, since she's an agency, I then work, she is a client of mine and her agency, and then I also work with her clients. And so that opened up several new clients for me. And we went from, oh my God, my pay's cut in half and my life is over and I'm a failure, to having some of the best projects I've ever worked with, some of the best people I've ever worked with. And I had a goal of to double my income, or the revenue, because that's what I needed in order to get my income back. And we maxed that, or we exceeded that goal. So my goal, I think, was $2,000 in revenue. This is like, I mean, guys, like, it's not in revenue, not just like in how much I make, like, that's revenue. I was like, hey, first goal is $2,000 in revenue, and I went to over $5,500 in revenue, and it was amazing. And I love that, and I feel kind of uncomfortable sharing numbers, but I also think it's kind of important. And I also hate when people don't. So I was like, that's amazing. Like, that's way better than I've ever done in my business. And we were at a high point. And we were at a high point. So we had about a month and a half, 2 months of that, which was amazing. And life is going so good. And it's funny because if somebody asks me right now, like, how's the business going? I tell them, like, it's going fabulous. Like, I got to work on projects that challenged me and were the best projects that I've ever done. I've gotten to be, challenged. I got to put out initiatives and start campaigns and really do work that I loved, and with people who were open to ideas and who had the, honestly, like, money, time, and capacity to put those ideas into action. But then 2 weeks ago, I got a call from, multiple things happened in a row that week. Essentially, there were multiple budget cuts, and some, like, one of my clients was doing a new marketing. I know they're working with like a new marketing team, so they're redoing their marketing, and they're putting a pause on social media, and they're going to hopefully call me back later. But that meant, my services were cut, budget cuts, my services were cut. And so I went back to, that was the second shit hitting the fan moment was worse than the first as far as financials. And I got to be honest, guys, like, I'm still in it. Like, it's not fixed yet. Difference is, I heard those news, and I took a moment, and I was like, all right. But I didn't freak out, and I'm not freaking out. And if somebody asks me, like, how's the business doing? Like, I think it's doing great. Like, my work has never been better. I have a portfolio that I'm super proud of, and I have more knowledge and capabilities than I did even 3 months ago. But it's kind of funny because financially, like, we're not doing good. We're in a place where I'm having to figure things out, and I need to come up with some new relationships and bring in some new clients. And I wanted to put myself in a position in several, like, more agencies. So, because the agency atmosphere is great for learning, I found. And so I wanted to, before everything happened, I wanted to hopefully get partnered with other agencies so that I could do more work through them. And we were definitely trying to partner with agencies now, because I definitely need more work. But it kind of, like, with that, it is what it is. I figured that with business, I can't judge myself. And I think that a couple months ago, like, I would have said that, or like said, we're going to in a place where we're not doing well financially. And next month, I'm not sure, like, what my pay is going to look like, if I'll be able to pay myself at all. And I would have seen that and been upset or embarrassed. And in January, I was embarrassed. When these things happen, a lot of times I do. I'm like, okay, am I going to share this on the podcast? I was like, no, I can't share it on the podcast. Like, I don't, it's embarrassing. Like, that sounds like it means like I'm failing, or like I'm not good enough, or like I must be dumb, or all those type of things. And coming off of the first, like, oh shit moment, and then into this one, I realized a couple things. One, none of that's my fault. And a big distinguisher that I had to make, that I think is very relevant for, like, anybody can apply this to their life. I had to figure out what the difference was between me failing and the business failing. Markets change, people's budget changes. Like, there is so much that is out of my control. And so, like, I had to ask myself the very real question, like, what happens if everything goes under? Like, what am I going to do? And have a backup plan. And, what job am I going to get? Because I like have to make money. But I realized that just because things go wrong does not mean that it's a reflection on me. None of that was anything that was directly in my control. Like, I just have to do my best. And that's the thing, that's with anything. If you are currently in a career, you're striving to get a certain job or anything like that, there is a very large difference between you being a failure and something not working out quite right. You being a failure and you not being able to get the career that you want. That has nothing to do with your identity. And that's something that I had to learn. And so when I went into this next, moment of, I don't even know, I'm just calling it like shit hitting the fan. When that last couple weeks ago happened, and everybody had budget cuts, I just realized it was another kind of test. And it was another time where I realized, for me as an entrepreneur, but I think anybody throughout your life, like, you're going to be put in situations that put you in really tough spots. And how you handle that is going to determine, one, the outcome, two, like, the kind of person that you want to be and how you're going to handle that moving forward. That first time, like, sure, I cried and I had a big upset and I let myself feel all the feelings, but, like, I got back up, and I'm so glad I did, because then, everybody's like, you have to believe that it's going to work out. You have to believe it. Guys, you actually have to believe. You have to have this trust that is so solid in your core that it's going to work out. You may not know how, you may not know what, working out means, but it's going to work out. And thankfully, like, in January when that happened, like, I got to see what it looked like for things to work out. I said, okay, through means that were not just like things that I was doing, all of my efforts that I did as far as, like, applying for things and reaching out to people, like, none of those things panned out. But, a client came to me, and then we worked that out. And I'm just like, the plant you water is what grows. And so I knew if I would just get back up and keep going, that it would work out. it would work out, and I got to see it work out. So then when, a couple weeks ago, when we had another blow, I was like, okay, this is just another hurdle. This is just another part of the journey. This is just another thing that it's just a piece of the puzzle. Honestly, it's a chapter. It's a piece of the story. We're going to walk through it. We're going to get out of it. And I don't have any doubts on that. And has that changed the situation? No. I've got so, wonderful meetings that I'm meeting with next week. My mentor connected me with some people, which is awesome. Networking is, I found to be the biggest, effort that you can make, and the most effective effort that you can make when you're trying to nail these opportunities. I also have emails from people that I haven't spoken to in months. I got 2 random emails saying, hey, I would really love to chat about your services. They need some help. And I did not reach out to them. I haven't reached out to them in months, but I knew, I was like, if I just keep getting up, if I just keep pushing, if I just keep trying, and seeing this as a moment of okay, we've got a lot of time, which is awesome. Money and time, you have to value both of them. And so we've got a lot of time to make connections, to rethink how we want to do services, to, imagine what how we want to work with clients. We've got time to make these efforts. We've got time to make these initiatives. So I'm working towards that. And I'm just finding that the rewards from your efforts don't directly come from the efforts that you're making, if that makes sense. For instance, I've applied to some jobs, and I'm working on you can apply for any jobs on LinkedIn, on any of the Indeed, as a contractor. If you want, I'm applying to these jobs saying, hey, I'm looking for a contractor role, which is really, really great, because usually we might be a little more expensive, by the hour, but we end up being much cheaper because we don't require benefits. And so that's how I'm pitching myself. None of those have worked out. I've gotten 2 or 3 emails saying, very kind emails actually, which I was very impressed by, just saying, thank you for applying, but we went a different direction. And so that was me, trying to move the needle. Those efforts didn't pan out. But then from the back door, I have people coming to me from out of the woodwork that are old connections, or connections from somebody that I know, referrals, that type of thing. And it's always how it works out. It never works out in the way that you think it's going to. And so that's kind of how I've thought about this. I'm when I say you have to trust that it's going to work out, I'm not saying you have to trust that what you want is going to happen. That is not what I'm saying at all. But when I was in college and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I wasn't sure what career I wanted, and there was a night, my senior year, and that might be the hardest that Joseph's ever seen me cry, because it was the moment that I realized that none of the jobs I were applying for, I was getting rejected from every single job I was applying for. And I was I made a mistake. My entire college life has been a mistake. I shouldn't have gotten a chemistry degree. I want to work in marketing, and all of it was a failure. And this has all been for nothing. And I'm bawling. But now I get to look back on that, and I get to see how everything's worked out. You can look back on your life, and my guess is that you could have never, ever dreamed of where you're at now. You could have never guessed how things work out, but things just fall into place one way or the other. Now I say that, but I had to go through some pretty rough times. I had to go through some serious lows. And sure, at that point, I was not seeing how things were working out, but I kept going. I knew even in my darkest moments, I knew I wasn't going to be able to see it, but this would turn out okay. It would turn out okay. And of course, that's a little bit easier, I think, if you're religious, and I am religious. So we have, I'll say, the luxury sort of being able to say God's got it. And, we can believe in that. And it feels kind of nice when you have an entity that you can give that up. But even if you're not religious, or you may not even believe in the universe or, any other higher power or anything like that, but you can look back on your life and find evidence where things worked out in ways that you would have never thought. So where are we at right now? Well, I mean, I don't know what my pay is going to look like next month. I don't know how much money we're going to be making. I don't know if we're going to be getting new jobs, but I'm not concerned because I trust that if I keep showing up, life will still show up for me, if that makes sense. And you kind of just, you have to be in that space. I saw something this week and it was like, as soon as I figured out, like, as soon as I started acting delusional with life, that's when I became the happiest. And I was like, that's not a bad mentality to have. I think delusional is a bit of a harsh word, but yeah, just trusting that it's going to be okay, trusting that things are going to work out in your favor, having confidence in yourself. Oh, that's huge. I could easily feel guilty for every waking minute that I'm not pushing, doing something. If I'm not at my computer, applying for jobs, connecting with people on LinkedIn, advertising my services, like I could feel guilty about like not having a big enough social media platform to advertise my services. And that does nothing. Like that does absolutely nothing. And when I was talking to Jess about this and I was like, I was like, it's hard because you feel like you should be doing more. You should always be doing more. And he was like, there's only so much that you can do. And I think like scientifically, we are only effective for like 6 minutes, not 6 minutes, some like 6 hours out of the day or something. And then past that, like you're just not effective. And I know like if I were to be working 24/7 and staying up all night, it would end up backfiring. I have had that backfire on me. I have freaked out before, taken efforts that were pushing too hard, and I was acting out of desperation and not out of trust. And those actions backfired. I know it doesn't help. And it's not going to help me at all to feel guilty for not pushing every hour of the day. Yes, I'm going to take my weekends. Yes, I'm going to take breaks. Yes, I'm going to stop working at 5. I'm going to make sure that what I'm doing, every effort that I'm making feels genuine to me, because especially when you get in these places where you do feel a little bit desperate, like you need to, close deals, you need to get money, you can often do things that don't feel genuine, like advertising yourself in a way that just feels kind of gross. I think sales can get really sleazy very fast if you are selling yourself, but that helps me none. That does nothing for me. And I know that by taking breaks, keeping my head clear, keeping my head high and staying confident and just saying, okay, like I'm steering this ship and this ship's going to go. Like we are going to make it. We are going to come out the other side. And being more excited to see what we look like in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, when we are, over this hill, and I'm going to be able to look back and be like, wow, she had no idea. She had no idea the opportunities that were coming her way. She had no idea that email, that phone call, that connection. She had no idea this was coming towards her that then ended up, caused us to end up here. Like that's what keeps me going, knowing that I'm going to be able to look back like I have looked back every other time and say, she had no idea what was coming. That is how I'm getting through. And so I wanted to record this when I'm kind of in the middle of it as well, because I think it's nice to hear the stories. And honestly, with like recording podcasts, I've had to like learn kind of how to do story narrative and all those type of things. I think it's nice when we get to, close the circle, but sometimes it's even nicer when somebody talks about their experiences when they're in the middle of it. Because when you get to the other side, you kind of look back with rose-colored glasses and it doesn't seem so bad, or it doesn't, you're not getting to describe the essence of where you are, which then makes it hard for people to connect with where you were. I've listened to plenty of podcasts, and yeah, it's nice to hear, when they talk about when they were at their lows, but sometimes it's not always relatable, or I can't really connect. I'm like, no, you don't understand how I feel. So I wanted to record this when I'm in the middle of it. I'm in the middle of looking at my budget and trying to save money because I'm not sure where my money's going to look like next month. And I'm in the middle of every day, having a list of what we call money moves and saying, okay, we're going to be making money moves every day to replace that revenue that we lost. I wanted to sit down and do it in real time so that you guys could hear exactly how I was feeling in this moment. And hopefully it helps you a little bit more than if I was talking about it, after the fact. Now, I will update you. I will update you on how things are going. And, I'm sure I will learn even more from this experience, which is super exciting. Everything that happens is a learning experience. And if you learn to love to learn, then life gets a little bit easier. But yeah, I guess, I don't think I'm ending this on a necessarily positive note, because I don't have a happy ending. But at the same time, I hope you guys hear, like, I'm not worried. And I want you to find the place in yourself where you can be in these positions where you can feel trapped, where you can, life can kind of kick you down and you can still trust and have confidence in yourself that you'll get back up and that it'll be okay. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this maybe was interesting at anything, to listen to things in real time and hear what's going on with the business if you're like me and you're just nosy. But if you're in a place, or if you have been in a place where, you've been kicked down and things sort of suck and you don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel, I hope this gave you some hope. Like, I'm walking with you. I'm walking this right now with you. And sometimes it just takes seeing somebody else to know that you're not alone. I hope you guys have a fabulous week. I hope you are doing super, super well. If you enjoy this podcast, do me a favor and go like, rate, review, all the things. If you write a review, like actually write, you could even say like this podcast is awesome, something super short, but those written reviews are huge for the podcast success. I would really, really appreciate it if you would take the time to do that. All the things we have, our Instagram is popping, which I'm very, very proud of. I put a lot of hard work in that. So if you could go support the Instagram, that would be amazing. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.